12th Brown County Commission meeting to order. Commissioner Weiss, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. First item on our agenda is bids for the gravel and rental equipment for the highway department. Morning, Kendall.
Morning, guys.
Morning, Kendall.
Enjoying the winter so far?
Love it.
Every bit of it.
I've only been here 7 days and it's like, oh man, I'm ready to get over it.
Morning.
We're paying for what we didn't get before Christmas.
Better rest up tonight and tomorrow because you'll probably again Wednesday and Thursday.
Yep, exactly.
Can you say you got a copy, Kathy?
Oh, not of your stuff.
And Dirk recommends these bid prices were okay. If you guys would award them, or whatever.
All of them? Yep, we usually do.
Yep.
I'd make that motion. Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Weiss to approve the bids for the gravel and rental equipment for Dirk's request.
Just gravel so far.
Oh, just gravel.
Yep,
Okay,
gravel.
sorry. Gravel.
I'm bringing around now.
Oh, okay.
Bid.
For the gravel. All in favor?
That one was a little
Aye.
short.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I got two little laps. Do you need an extra or do you want me to
My
throw it?
fingers.
Oh, you're good.
Whoops, sorry, Gary. You're okay. It's just me. And the equipment rental is also okay. Recommended.
I would move it.
Second.
Moved by Kipley, second by Weiss to approve the rental equipment for the highway department for Dirk's request. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, questions? How's things going?
I've had positive comments about the job you guys are doing, considering the situation.
Trying, yeah,
So,
trying.
nice job, keep it up.
Just hope this next one passes. Don't know if we're gonna get 2 inches or 6 inches or 8 inches.
Anybody's guess at this point. Depends how much rain we get first.
Yep, exactly. How was your trip down to Sioux Falls?
Interesting. God, it was terrible on Monday.
Yep.
Visibility was just zero.
I just hope it melts slow so
That's,
we don't get the flooding again coming, so.
How tough is this on your cutting edges?
We go through them. That pavement eats right through them sometimes, you know, trying to put pressure down to cut the ice and it just, we got them well stacked, or enough there. We'll keep a bunch on hand.
Well, I paid the vouchers yesterday. I noticed there was quite a few cutting edges going through it. I figured that it was a little tough on things.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, and equipment breaks down on this stuff too all the time. It's just tough. All the businesses are busy, put it that way.
Oh, yeah.
So,
It's winter.
yep, exactly. Well, no, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Spring, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
what
right.
it is. We're about a week and a half away.
Should be. All right.
Good luck with the next one.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Kendall.
Have a great one.
Stay safe.
Next item, we have the Ag Land Assessment Lawsuit Settlement Discussion. About a minute early, but we're all right.
So a quick update on that. Reed Rasmussen's group of plaintiffs all signed the settlement. I never did get Dwight Lawson's back, the separate lawsuit. His attorney said he's signing it. He's just waiting for it to get faxed back to him, then he'll get it to me. So I would propose you have your discussion, go ahead and vote on it, and then once we get the last signed document back, Doug can sign it if you vote to approve the settlement.
Is there anyone here to speak of that? Basically, the settlement would entail that the 15 townships would go to a 10% reduction in their assessment, and the state has agreed to leave the taxing factor at 85.3. Without the state doing that, it probably would have not worked, because the taxing factor would have then gone to 88.8, which would have been unfair to many of the other taxpayers. So as the state has agreed to the 85.3, it will not affect the other ag people that are therefore going to the one factor, which the state requests we go to. And that's kind of the sum of it all. I mean, I don't know how much more detail you want to get. I think that's kind of the nuts and bolts of it all.
That's pretty much everything. .853.
0.853.
And that's for 1 year, right?
Right, 1 year only.
Right.
So.
Should have had Doug read the release. Sounded like he read them.
So per the response from those that filed the lawsuit, willing to settle for that, apparently that's acceptable at this point in time for them.
And then they waive and release all of their claims from the past.
Well, it's been a long and interesting process, but based on the agreement that's been reached by, sounds like everybody, I would move that we accept the agreement.
Second.
We have a motion by Sutton, a second by Weiss to approve the agreement between the lawsuit.
I do have a letter from someone who was not able to make it today. I think we should
That's
try.
this one.
Yeah, he asked me to read it, so we try to read it before we vote.
Okay.
This is from Erling Pudal, to anyone that will stop and think and may do something about it. Subject, taxation of rural lands. It is quite obvious that many people are dissatisfied with the present system of using the production model. It is also quite obvious that the system, together with the federal farm subsidies, is almost forcing many landowners to convert grasslands to cultivated cropland. It really struck home with me a few years ago. On the farm, where I was born 94 years ago, the pasture was converted to cropland about 3 years ago. It has a deep draw running through it, so it is sort of a patchwork of cultivated fields now. It is located about 3 miles east of Westport, SC. The owners of rural land have a heavy responsibility, which society in general does not seem to be aware of. How rural land is used and managed affects the whole society in general, whether rural or urban. It is the only type of ownership that I can think of that can affect society in general. How rural land is used and managed should be the basis for taxing rural land. We must look at the basis for such a conclusion. Wetland drainage. We know that this costs society millions of dollars annually in increased flooding, road damage, etc. In Brown County, there are over 20 soils that are temporary wetlands, and about 1/2 dozen are seasonal wetlands. Most landowners think nothing of draining a wetland, not realizing that someone is paying to take care of the water they may not have wanted. It also causes cities in costs for water treatment. Of course, tile drainage is the biggest offender. Now think of the other side of the coin to speak. Wetland drainage is less likely to take place on grassland, therefore little or no cost to society in general. Application of herbicides, insecticides, etc. Here again, it is common on cultivated lands that may present in runoff. Usually not common on grasslands. The foregoing is a rather simplistic picture of my proposal. I don't think it is necessary to get into sediment, acre-feet of water, etc. Applying a production model should be secondary if used at all. From an old fogey that worked in the conservation field for many years, Erling Pudal.
Mr. Chairman, before you vote, can I make a comment?
Sure.
Thank you. I took it upon myself to have to come in and make a little response, because I've been following this quite close. Paul Denner, Commissioner, thank you. I just jotted down a couple notes last night. This goes back basically all the way since we went to the production model, but basically in 2017, the southeast 15 townships had an 18% value increase over their top crop numbers. Don't have to go down that road at all, I don't think, because we all understand it. 2018 valuation discussion, revenue said we couldn't have the 18 or shouldn't have the 18% increase factor, although there was, let's say, 3 or 4 other counties that had a valuation increase, and I don't know that anything has totally been done on that. I think some of them have just politely removed their increase, and I think Minnehaha is in the process of doing it over a term. So in 2018, we or you or some with revenues request took the 18% factor off, and before they did that, the Director of Equalization here had sent out, they had them at 1, and they had sent out the evaluations for the rest of the county, and they were at either at 87 or 85%, I think, with a decrease in the value. They were at the 87. In my area, it was 87. As it progressed in that year for the valuations, the people from the southeast decided, and I think it was rightfully so, that they should have got the 87 factor from the county also, because that's equalizing. That's what the state wanted us to do. Take the increase factor off and then equalize, which I think is the duty. I did not complain about it. I figured that it being I lost, I guess you'd say, because I figured the factor over 1 was fine. So that ended 2018. It had some tax consequences, but this is a valuation discussion. Now we're looking at 2019, and I assume you're going to go forward, or it sounds like you're going to vote on it. I don't know if this is your final vote, or you got to vote on it at your equalization meeting. I think that's when you're going to make the decision to make the cuts. If you move forward with this value decrease, you're just reversing what you did last year. You're setting up another neighborhood, or leaving the neighborhood as it was, which they said we should do. You're lowered the top drop value in them 15 townships. I do not feel this is the right decision to make, because every year is a new tax year and a new value year. And if you do this, you will be not acting in good faith in equalizing ag crop land fairly. Thank you. Is there any question? And I've got a couple of examples, if you want me to show them to you, of the consequences which will happen in next year's tax notices. Thank you.
I understand the neighborhooding, but what about the 7 years that these 15 townships were neighborhooded at 18% that the state said we couldn't do it? I mean, you see where we're at? It's not this board. We've got a dictating factor that has jerked us around to the point that we don't really have a choice in what we're trying to do, and you can call it neighborhood. I would call it a settlement factor. This is how we get out without... We don't know how the lawsuit will turn out. So put it in our shoes. Say we lose, and it costs us $750,000. That's cash the county will have to pay out of their pocket, which our budget probably will not support.
I understand that, Doug. I followed this clear through. I do not think the 18% increase was unfair to them. You had 2 county commissioners that own land in that area and approved it every year. They didn't think it was an excessive factor. To me, that's water down the river. I think Mike Hoddyshaw made that comment downstairs at that time. I've got a suggestion of what you could do, but you won't like it. Lower everybody in the county 10%. That would be equalizing. That would be fair. If you're going to do it to a part of the county, you did that a year ago. You lowered that southeast or 15 townships to equalize, to make it fair.
But if we do that, your taxing factor is going to go up, so what have you got?
That's right. I wouldn't disagree. I don't know, you made the comment about the taxing factor at 85.3. That's satisfactory. I mean, that's good for me. But I do not, I just can't, I just wanted to make this comment. I'm not gonna oppose or anything. I just do not think it's good business 1 year to do something and next year reverse what you did. We went away from neighborhood. We went away from the top crop. I mean, and then this year you come right around, create a neighborhood and move forward with a decrease. So just had to make the comments, and thank you for your time.
In fairness, Paul, this is not a solution that we pursued. This was a potential solution that was brought to us by the folks that brought the lawsuit, saying this would be something that would be acceptable in order to settle the lawsuit with the understanding that revenue would have to agree to it, which they have. So this is not something that we pursued. From my perspective, although at some points in time it appears to be settled, I don't think it is, whether or not adjustments above are appropriate. Now it appears in hindsight that the easiest thing to do is just take the straight numbers from the state with no adjustments and just apply them and say you've got what you've got.
Well, there is tools and toolbox to make local adjustments, and there's some, legal things you can do.
But the issue that I have with that is the fact that revenue doesn't stand behind the locals when they do that.
I put 2 calls into revenue to talk to them about it, and they have yet to return a call.
And Senate Bill 4 opens that up for even more
Discussion.
local discretion to be used.
I understand. I just am disappointed. Now, you mentioned the 7-8 years, but I think they only ask, they're gonna get 2 years. Roughly, they got a 13% go back last year and another 10. But I and all of them townships were behind in our valuation for all but 2 years or 1 year of that deal. As we applied the amount to increase the valuation to catch up. So, I think that's probably why they don't ask for 1 year. I don't know. I have no idea. When I did, just a comment, when I did run some numbers on it, I would have been more upset than I am now. But when I run the numbers on it, depending on the mill levy, but just assume the mill levy stays the same, payable next year, their taxes will be even. They will not go up or down very much. But last year, the taxes, comparing a quarter land in Garland Township and a quarter land in Columbia Township, in both school districts, because, you gotta look at P's versus P's. The land in Garland Township stayed equalated, just down a little bit or up a little bit. And the other parcel in Columbia went down $3 an acre. Payable next year, if the mill levy stays the same, I would just predict, depending on the mill levy, that the 15 townships' taxes will remain stable. And the taxes in Garland, let's say, will probably go up between $2 and $4 an acre, depending on the mill levy. If Columbia, let's say, would have went down, I would have been a lot more upset. But to me, the way I did it, I haven't sat down with Gene and went through it, but I think I'm pretty much on the money on that, because payable this year, they had a 13% value decrease, an 88.2 factor. Next year, going forward, if they have a 10% decrease in value, an 85.3 factor, they just offset each other. So their taxes would be about stable. And I can justify that. I've got paperwork to do it, but it's just taking my word to penny. Any other questions?
I had one, just point of clarity, maybe Gene can help me out with this. So let's just take $100,000 in valuation and we reduce it by the 10%, so it's $90,000. Then the following year, does it bump back up to the $100,000, or does it bump back up to $100,000 plus some, what's the valuation going to be then? Do you have an idea?
It'll bump back up to 100,000, then it's just going to vary by then whatever the
Top crop
or
Okay.
top grass rating would be.
So minimum 100,000 plus you.
Plus or minus. Actually, right now we're kind of probably trending downward a little bit.
Okay.
We'll start to see that.
So they may not go
top
all the
dollar.
way back up.
Yeah. And, well, I'll look all the way back up to full value. Right now I'm kind of foreseeing that our top dollars might start to fall off a little bit over the next 2 or 3 years.
It should.
Right. The reason I can make this prediction is been pretty stable on it is because we've had 2 years of top crop at 36.20.
Yep.
I think. So you could pretty much make that prediction. But yeah, I agree with G, depending on what the top crop number comes in the production model. So I'm disappointed on the action because I don't think that's equalizing in the end. And I know that
You know,
Well, you did
probably
bring-
isn't equalizing, but according to the state, for 7 years, we weren't equalizing either. So, I mean, our higher authority is dictating what we do. And
Well-
if they are incorrectly dictating what we are to do, where do we go from there? I mean, we have no
understand,
options.
Doug, but they did a reversal of what they told you a year ago. That's what I'm upset with revenue about. They told you to not be about top crop, not the neighborhood, and equalize, which you did. You did that just to a T. That's why I didn't complain a year ago. And I knew their taxes were going to go down. The state comes this year and tells you just to do the opposite. That's why I wanted to talk to somebody from the state, but I suppose they're busy the last day.
Well, you
Let me
brought-
ask you, Paul, if we were to go to court, which is the only other option we have, and do depositions and go through the whole process, and the Department of Revenue gets on that stand, do you think they're gonna favor us, or are they gonna throw us under the bus again?
I don't know, Doug, and
And that's why we're at this stepping stone.
that's why I'm not trying to do what some of the other residents of Brown County did and bring a lawsuit, because, I was part of that when this started. I knew there was 18% valuation increase. I think everybody in this, you probably wasn't there, Rachel, when that started, but everybody else, and two that aren't here now, they knew it, and they didn't think it was unfair, and I still don't, and I think there's enough information that could be above top crop. And Mike Hottishell said in certain circumstances there could be something about top crop. You heard him, know. It's just a reversal. That's what upsets me of the decision here.
It's not the first or the last time.
No, probably not. And I, like I said, and I'll visit with revenue someday about it, but I just had to voice my thoughts on it. And don't plan on doing anything other than what I've said today.
Well, we appreciate that. You did bring up the point, and so just to expand on that just a moment about, inequities. When this was instituted in 2010, it took 2 years for grass to get to full and true value. It took 7 years for crop ground to get to full and true
I
value.
was thinking grass was pretty much full of...
Pretty much, but I mean, there were no exceptions by 2 years. It took 7 years for crop.
I agree. You know what? It wouldn't have got there in 7 years if I wouldn't have introduced a bill
To
to go from
10 to-
15 or to 25.
Yep.
And hindsight tells me that the bill would have never passed. They should have never left a break-in period time. Hindsight is perfect, but I was
Exactly.
there. I truly believe in the production model yet. There's some work to be done on it, but I truly believe in it. I had one county landowner yesterday said, well, under the old model of sales, his land wasn't valued this high. He says, and look what it's did with production. I says, but I know that your land would be valued higher today under the market value than it is with production, and he disagreed with me, and I said, well, if you want to go sit down with somebody, I'll prove to you wouldn't, but...
Well, there's an awful lot of people with a sentiment that they want it to go to actual use.
I would agree to actual use, and I think there's other counties other than ours that need actual use. And I think in the long run, I think the discussion is when you've got an appeals process out from a person that wants his homestead acreage, not cropland, then he's asking for actual use, right? He wants to take out...
He might be careful what he wishes for.
I agree with you, Mike. If you put it under, not a homestead, it'd be an altogether different deal.
Yep.
Now, I agree probably that you should take out some land in its top crop number or honey number that's flooded, or the bottom of a pothole.
And I think we do that.
I know you do, and I've had one myself, but there's a lot of them. Did Gene tell me there's 1,400 or how many ever out there in the county? That's where the tools in the toolbox work. But that would be an actual use in my way, and we've had people ask for trees. You know, our trees, the taxes on my trees as farmland or cropland or non-cropland are the biggest benefit to me this year that you'd ever want to see.
Yep.
I mean, let's be truthful about it. But so the people without cattle, you know what they're doing with trees. It goes up. So.
May I make a comment?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Good to see you.
My daughter and I have a farm, but it's over in Edmonds County, and I wanted to come and listen to the discussion this morning. We have 960 acres. The farmer can farm 590 acres. So we're, like, he's got trees, we've got trees. We've got sloughs, but the soil underneath says it's this particular type, therefore you're gonna get, but you can't use the ground or get any productivity out of it. And I just came to the meeting this morning to listen to the discussion because I don't know whether to carry mine on any further in Edmonds County, but I just cannot see where it's feasible or honest to take land that has never been farmed, won't be farmed, and charge it for taxes as much as land that brings in money. I just don't think that's right.
Question, do you have easement on any of that land?
No,
Okay.
but we've got trees which are charged the same as the wheat field next to it, or the beans, or whatever. But the trees are something that we need on that farm for cover, wind, animals, and then we've got some sloughs that are covered up, but they are the type of soil that is good soil. And I think the state has a wrong way of figuring out their taxes, and I just wanted to come and listen to your discussion and see if there was any agreement or what you...
Well, the reason I asked the question about easements, and it varies from county to county and assessor to assessor, whether or not easements are taken into consideration with some of those assessment numbers.
No. Well, as I made the comment, Gene's made local adjustments on some of those parcels or acreage that haven't been cropped.
Right.
Have you had a conversation, Dwayne, with the Director of Equalization over there about that land?
My attorney has had a short discussion with them, but in reading what I can read up on, we've got out of that 960 acres, we got a lower tax rate on 10.9 acres because that's in food plots for pheasants, and that's the only difference in our whole acreage. But it's just not usable, and
I'd go have another conversation with them.
Pardon?
I would go talk to them again.
Well, I think
Depending on the
I wanted to
assessor.
come and listen to your discussion here to help make up my mind as to what I might try and do. I haven't discussed it with any of the other farmers around there, but I'm sure there's a lot of them that are in the same boat. But on the other hand, it's going to cost some farmers more because you still got to have a certain amount of dollars coming in to run the county. And I understand that part. And it's to me, it's a real tough question as to what you can do with it. One thing I have learned through this whole process, I do believe the Department of Revenue has done a really poor job of training the assessors in South Dakota, because if you look at the overall picture, I don't know there's any 3 or 4 that are doing it the same way. And that's where the problem lies, is when you have no authority at the top setting the rules the way this is supposed to be done. Gene does it the way we believe is right. You got a problem in Marshall County, you got a problem in Minnehaha County. I can go on, and the problem lies with the dictation of top how this should be done. And that's where the problem lies. They put the county in some really awkward spots when they don't regulate the laws they supposedly input. And if the assessors are all doing something different, all you've got is a mess when you're done with it.
And not only fail to regulate what the assessors are doing, but actually approve what they're all doing every year. I mean, we're in this mess, and the county's sued by the certain plaintiffs for a reason. We do the taxes one way. For the last 10 years, Department of Revenue tells us it's okay, and then they all of a sudden tell us it hasn't been okay, even though they approved it every year. And then they're immune from suit because they're the state. So then the county's stuck holding the bag getting sued, and that's what finally got the Department of Revenue, I'm sure, to come around and approve this settlement, because they know it's not fair that they've approved the county for 10 years and now we're getting sued over it. So that's that. I mean, and Paul knows that. That's why the state.
No, I understand that.
We would have loved to bring the state into this suit because we would have got out of it pretty quick, but we can't legally. They're immune from it.
So until that changes, and we have some dictation from the department that's actually controlling our assessors, it'll probably continue to be a mess. And I'm hoping that within the next year or two, the Department of Revenue will finally put some kind of seminar for these assessors and puts everybody on the same page. Because under South Dakota production law under ag land, whether it's Minnehaha or Marshall or Day or Brown, it should be the same factors through, but it is not.
Doug, that's what's disappointing to me when this back up to 3 years to get the state. That was done, that 85 factor was put out there to equalize counties for the school general fund. That's the only reason that we went through this, was the school general fund, to get it equal, because the state picks up what the counties or the school districts don't raise. And as I sat in Pier, we put different tools in the toolbox, is a simple way of putting it. So there is some discretion what each assessor can do and what works. What Mary did and Jean continued to do her as well, the interim. And you guys approved it, and I brought that up because we had 2 commissioners that was landowners in that southeast area. And they did not think it was wrong to have an 18% factor over 1, because they approved it. The state approved it, and then they come back and said they didn't. What upset me is when we talked about this to Russ, he knew Sioux Falls or Minnehaha was factoring up, and they knew we was factoring up, but I don't know for sure if they knew that Day was factoring up or McPherson was factoring up. But when all this came to light, then they found out, and then the other side of the deal, and they got an 85 factor, is Roberts now was factored way down and still got the 85. So I don't, you can push the blame. I think the blame goes to the state, but it makes me wonder who's controlling that. Why should they approved a factor at Roberts when they knew they were undervalued? You know, so it almost looks fishy to me, but that's why I tried to visit with either Hottie Shell or Miss Coyle, I think is her name, and I understand they're busy, but it just, they made the decision 1 year, and then they approved you the next year to do what they told you not to do the year before. That's what upsets me, and I know the reasons, and I think it's probably a small price to pay, but you know, $100 million evaluation decrease in the county is going to raise the taxes a little bit on the rest of us. You know, they didn't change the factor, that's fine, but it is gonna raise. You know, I could give you an example where my brother's got a $500,000 parcel of land value right in that area. And his taxes went down right at $500 an acre, or $500 total, $3 an acre. Mine stayed the same, so I have no complaint. But a house, a $500,000 house in Aberdeen went up $500. Taxes payable. It wasn't all because of that action, but part of it was, because the county mill levy went up. Every year the county mill levy's been going down. Last year it went up. And you will go up next year too, because of the 100 million miscalculation. My fire district mill levy probably will go up, the gin water. You're right. We're not, my value isn't going to increase, but my taxes probably will. That's my comment, and it's just the numbers I ran. I'm not upset. I'm upset because the state approved what we did last year because it was the right way. They turned right around this year and approved it, which is wrong. And it isn't equalizing. You're taking the highest valued land in the county and lowering it. That isn't equalizing in fairness to me. Thank you.
I support the motion, but I won't be voting on it. I'm going to abstain because our family's got land in 2 of those 15 counties, and I would see it as a financial gain. So support what you guys are doing, but I will be abstaining.
Well, it all boils down to, is it the right thing to do? I kind of think so, but I believe it's a smart thing to do, to make this go away. Because we've been at this now over a year, and we could be at it another year, and I don't know that if we add another year, if it'll be any clearer than it has been the past year. The way the laws and the way the people dictate what we're supposed to do have set it up, I don't know that it'll change.
Could get worse.
Well, I guess that's why I think it's a smart thing to do, and that's my opinion, and I guess if there isn't anybody else at this point in time, I would ask for a vote. I believe we have a motion by Sutton and a second by Weiss. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, everybody, for your
Thank you.
testimony and coming in.
I'm not going to do anything further on this. I just wanted to voice my concern.
Do you need a job as at the equalization office? Do you need to hire somebody?
Sign them up.
Paul knows what he's talking about.
He does, he knows more about it than
A lot of people.
an awful lot of people.
Well, we're at well past 8:55, and there, you were on...
Thank you for the time.
Okay, we were on 2 separate agendas, Paul. We had ag land assessment settlement, and then we have you after that. I would assume that covers both
Well,
those?
yeah, it did. I just wanted to speak as early as latter before you did the vote. And am I right in asking, do you have to vote on this again as an equalization board?
Yes, we have to make the adjustment as a whole. That's the only way we can do it as a whole.
Can I ask a hypothetical question? What if I go to my equalization board and ask for a 10% reduction or my township for equalization purposes?
Your township board, correct me, I'm not an attorney, but your township board can only do it by parcel. They can't do an overall.
Well, then what if I just do it personally?
That would be up to your township. And then, but then when your township brings that to us, the county equalization would have the authority to
Reverse that.
reverse that.
But that is, see, there's where I get it in the equalization.
Right.
To the other township.
You know, one of the things that...
I won't do that.
We talk about production, and you know, I've got 2 daughters live in town and their house taxes and stuff, and I look at what their taxes have done over the last 12 years.
They went down.
And you take a quarter of land which was valued in 2009 at $79,000. Now that land is now valued close to $400,000. And we talk about a house in town that probably hasn't had anywhere close to that kind of increase. You know, you talk about, is that fair taxation when the ag land is going up 500% and the house in town remains the same? You know, where's the fairness in that when we start talking about fair taxes? You know, I'm just going to throw that out. I might make a lot of people mad to Aberdeen, but, you know, realistically, when you look at the percentage of what ag land has done versus what property in town, whether it be Groton, Aberdeen, has done over the years, tell me where the shift has come from.
But it's
And I don't think that's fair on myself as ag land, but now the people in town think it's great, because I talked to a couple of friends of mine, 2 years ago his house taxes went down 200, last year his went down 400.
Yeah, I've got an example of that $500,000 house.
So, you know, to me, I don't think that's quite fair.
Well, those ag values will come down as 2011 comes out of the Olympic average.
Thank you for allowing me to ask the question or put my problem before you.
Well, I remind people that this was the solution advocated by those representing the ag community to the last problem.
Supported by a lot of farm groups, every farm group.
Oh, yeah, the market adjustment was, I think, you know, to production was a good move. I was borderline for a while, but 'cause when I decided that it was a good move was when the Chamber of Commerce and the retailers of the state said that ag, by gosh, is always going to put 18.6% of the dollars in the school general fund, and because they figured our value was going to go down. And I said, that's the best bill I ever voted for. Because our mill levy has went down every year on ag, you know, because of the increased value. They would have kept the old formula. You think ag was screaming now, let them repeal that law once and see what happens.
Part of what this done, though, was put more local effort into counties like Brown County than was there before.
Yeah, it did. So, but if you compare the houses, Doug, like you just did, the first thing we did, William, was you there, when we started this whole ball game, is repeal the 150 rule.
Yep.
So if the production model wouldn't have went forward, we would add market with no 150 rule.
Right.
And so I don't know what the value would be today following the market. I mean, they could tell me, but I can't. I think it'd be higher than our production model.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Even though we've had land values decrease about $2,000 an acre in the last 2 years.
Still be higher than 3,600.
But I keep telling Buddy, there's nobody in Brown County that's paying taxes on over $3,600 of value today per acre. Am I right, G? There isn't anybody.
Right behind you, buddy.
Huh?
Right behind you.
You kept me.
I was.
You was, but not today.
Yeah, I know. That's why we're here.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I think we can continue this on for hours, and I think I don't know we'll really solve the whole issue of taxation or assessments, but I think we'll let that up to the higher authorities, and hopefully the state decides to put some authority into what they want done and how it should be done. And hopefully, I hope that no other counties end up in this kind of mess. So with that, I guess we're done with that. I don't see anything else on the agenda. Is there anything else that
Just
anybody would
on
like?
that, I'm going to report it as a roll call vote.
Yes.
Yeah, so we will have Sutton, Weiss, and Feldheim in favor with Kipper abstaining and Pfeiffer absent.
Correct.
So for, the consent, we have minutes from Aberdeen City Joint and County General last week.
Second.
Either way.
Moved by Kempley, second by Weiss to approve the joint city county meeting and general meetings for March 4th. All in favor?
Aye.
And March 5th, I'm sorry. Opposed? The motion carries.
Claims?
Move.
Second.
Do we have to pull those two out?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, there's two claims that are going to wait a week or two.
Okay. Who had the move?
I made the motion.
Motion by Sutton, second by Weiss, to authorize claim with the exception of we're going to do some background work on two of the claims. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
HR report?
Move.
Second.
Moved by Kempley, second by Sutton to approve the HR report. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
The lease?
Move.
Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Weiss to authorize the lease agreement for the fairgrounds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Auditor's report of accounts.
Second.
Moved by Weiss, second by Gifley, to approve the auditor's report of accounts. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Abatements.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Gifley, to approve the abatements which were authorized by the assessor's office as approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Malt beverage permit for Boys and Girls Club.
Move it.
Moved by Gifley, second by Weiss, to approve a malt beverage permit for the Boys and Girls Pub. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
We have the tax deed sale purchase agreement and deed.
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Weiss.
That was
That's
a
for the
close
property in Groton.
Yep,
The house that was
Groton.
sold in Groton.
Get it done.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The solid waste permit, just acknowledge that Groton is applying to renew theirs.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Weiss, second by Gifley, to authorize a solid waste permit for Groton. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And that's all that I have.
Gary, do you have anything?
I'm good this week.
Chris, do you have
I
anything?
do. Executive session, I would request for personnel and pending or proposed litigation.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Gifley, to go into exec for personnel and litigation. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are in exec.
And then Kathy, I'll have
We are out of exec and no action as a result. Do we have anything else to come before the commission?
We should have a discussion on office reorganization, if we want to do that on the agenda next week, or just get the department heads that are going to be affected together for a informal meeting. I don't know how to proceed, but we should rock and roll on that.
We gotta start talking about it.
Have a working
I,
session, so they're included on the conversation?
After next week's meeting,
Yeah. Still in the
we have
morning.
two commissioners and department heads that
10:30, something.
are...
Yep.
Sure.
Works for
We
me.
need what, welfare, 24/7, sheriff, Judy,
We can test.
Weed and Pest, probably planning
Teen
and
court.
zoning, probably.
Yep.
Teen court. Can you send that out?
Sure.
All right.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Weiss, to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.